I'll call this regular council meeting in the Village of Grammanan to order at 7:35 p.m. For prayer this evening, we have Councillor Sturgeon.
Thank you, Madam. Lord, it's pretty easy to complain about things that don't quite go our way. Let us always remember, Lord, that most in this world would dearly love to have our worst day. God, we do truly pray that you may guide us this evening. And God, we pray that you may give us the patience of Job and the wisdom of Solomon to lead the people. And we ask in Jesus' wonderful name. Amen.
Thank you. Just a couple things for opening remarks tonight. First of all, I think we made the correct decision in postponing from last night to tonight for this meeting. That was a bit of a wild storm for us, and I just want to give a shout out in particular to our Public Works crew and the MB Power crew who were out in the heart of it last night, plowing and restoring power for some of us. So it certainly isn't anywhere I would want to be, so I appreciate anybody who had to be out in it. We had a little bit of good news here a bit ago, which we don't always get, so I just wanted to talk about it. For anybody who's maybe not as familiar, when our redemption bottles, the water bottles, those things that go to Moncton, we have evaluation audits. They take like randomly a sack and we'll compare the count in the sack to what our employees here at the transfer station have put on it. And our staff received an award for their accuracy, which is really quite something when you consider the number of bottles and cans that go through up there. So I think it's always good to acknowledge when somebody's doing a good job, and even more so when it's acknowledged by the company that we're selling them to. So big shout out to them and their hard work up there that's not always recognized either. The last thing I want to flag is a little bit about the ferry. We had a call with the province and coastal last week, I want to say, but sometime in the last couple of weeks. The original plan when the supplemental season was extended with the extra weeks in the fall was for the ferry to go to dry dock in the spring. It was supposed to go this spring, and that is unable to happen, so it will be going to dry dock in the fall of 26, not the spring of 26. So mid-September, the Adventure will leave, and we will have the 5 for about 6 weeks. There's also some maintenance that needs to be done on the Adventure before the end of March, so they are going to schedule a transition between the 5 and the Adventure at some point mid-March for a couple of weeks. Once we have the dates, we'll share them with everybody, but just so people are aware, it is a planned thing. It's not something that has gone wrong. It's something that they're working on, preventative maintenance that has to be done before the end of March. So just for planning purposes, those are some dates for people to be thinking about as far as travel off island and those sorts of things. So with that, we will move on to disclosure of conflict of interest. And I am going to declare on 17-1. Are there any other declarations of conflict of interest? Hearing none, I will move on to item number 5, which is adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting on February 2nd.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes circulated February 2nd.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, so with,
Madam Mayor?
yes,
The minutes for the night of, for people who have anything to say about
the public hearing.
the public hearing.
Yeah.
Is that be done as well, or?
That was on the last.
Yeah, they were at the February 3rd meeting, we
Okay,
did those then.
very good. Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Additions to the agenda. So I've got a couple of invoices to add, if we can do that under 17-1. For Urquhart Quality Homes for $287.50, and that's for
Transfer station, Scissor Left Road.
a transfer station scissor lift rental, that came out really badly. For LSW Wear Parts, and that's for Public Works, it's for $1,513.40. AJW Mechanical, and that's Arena Pumps, for the heat pumps, for $6,093.22. And under 17.2, the Urquhart Quality Homes, if we could amend that from 69,000 even to $69,974.35. We also have two motions under old business that we need to amend. They're both financial. The first one is February 3rd. It was for the payment of the fire truck. We had moved for the entire amount, $524,993.60 from the line of credit. We only had $191,429 left on the line of credit, and we had intended to pay the rest of it from the capital fund. So we need to adjust those motions so we've got the correct amounts. And we had a motion to lease a dump trailer for $1,634.60, and it was actually $1,645.49. So it was $10 more, essentially, than what we had in the motion. So we just need to adjust those two amounts. If we can do those under old business, if that's the wishes of the group.
Madam Mayor, I'll make a motion to accept the additions to the agenda and the changes as noted.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay, so we'll move on to old business, and that's 9/1 Community Recognition Event. Councillor Valentine.
Thank you. So Kara and Trish and I met to talk about this, and we thought it would probably make sense to have two awards that could be given, one for outstanding community service and one for a Lifetime Achievement Award. And the reason for the second one is that there are certainly people on the island who have contributed in extraordinary ways to the community, but because of aging, aren't doing so much anymore. So we thought it would be nice to have both. And probably we wouldn't give more than 2 or 3 of the community achievement ones every year, and probably not more than one of the Lifetime Achievement, and not even one of those every year, but on some occasions they will be warranted. And we talked about presenting the recipients with certificates, and we also talked about the possibility of giving them a small amount of Grand Manan dollars, and maybe that would be better for the Lifetime Achievement Award. And a Grand Manan dollar is just like a voucher that could be spent at a Grand Manan business for, I don't, like maybe $100 or something like that. The most difficult decision was to figure out how and when the awards would be given, because I think it's unlikely that, or we thought it was unlikely that if it was just a standalone event that there would be very many people coming. So then we thought, what about the gathering after the Christmas parade? We're here anyway, there's refreshments here anyway, people are already in a feel-good mood, and it might be a nice time to honor people. So there would be a nomination form that members of the public could fill out. This could be on our website. They would give the name, and they would have to give the reasons why they're nominating the person. And then we didn't talk about who would make the decision. I mean, I assume that the committee would vet it, and then, I don't know, but would we bring it to council? Would we just bring it to you, Madam Mayor, and Chris?
I think it makes sense to go to council, like, vet through the committee. I think that's generally how we do, like, the scholarship awards, for example, is the committee makes a recommendation and comes, so.
Oh, that makes sense.
Trying to get myself out of that, if you could tell there quickly.
I think that covers it.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah,
that's
okay.
everything.
thank you. Questions or comments from everyone else?
Just like to say thank you for your work.
You're welcome.
Much appreciated.
Okay, so maybe going forward, we could do, I'm thinking like summer, early fall, maybe like once people are back from summer vacations and stuff, do a little blitz and just put it out there and see what happens. That fair?
Yes.
Okay. All right, well, thank you guys very much, appreciate that. Okay, so our two motions that we have to amend. So the first one is, why don't you talk about this? This is your
Sure.
tag, you're it.
So when we presented in closed session about the purchase or the leasing of the garbage trailer, or the dump trailer, I should say, the number I had at the time was more of a quote, which was $1,634.60 plus HST for a 60-month lease. We're just finalizing the lease agreement, so we have the actual numbers now. So the new number for the 60-month lease is $1,645.49. So we just need to amend.
And what is the motion number on that?
2426.
Madam Mayor, Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we amend motion number 2426 for the dump trailer from monthly payment of $1,634.60 plus HST to $1,645.41.
I forgot my mic. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. And then the second one was motion 2226. It was to pay the entire $524,995.60 from the fire truck line of credit. And so the amended motion would be to pay $342,565.60 from the capital reserve fund to the general capital fund. And then to pay
$191,429 from the fire truck line of credit to the general capital fund.
and those two amounts will total the 520, whatever that amount was, 524,995.
So I'll make that motion if I don't have to repeat all those numbers.
I hope I don't have to repeat all those numbers. You heard the motion for Councillor Ballantyne. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. Okay. 10-minute open session? Hearing none. Under correspondence, I received an email a couple of weeks ago, and I asked for permission to read it here just because it's another one of those good news things that we don't get very often. So it was written to Ellen Nason, Amy Gillingham, Ian Lee, and myself. My name is Chris Lyons. My wife and I have been proud summer residents of Graham and Ann for the past 25 years. I am not in the habit of writing fan mail, but I feel very strongly that I must let you know of the exceptional work being done by the staff at the Graham and Ann Public Library. I have spent much of my professional life in library management, including as Associate Dean of Libraries at McGill University, as well as serving on various library boards. Given this experience and perspective, I can state emphatically that the Village of Graham and Ann is blessed with a library that epitomizes the multifaceted good that a library can do for a community. Having spent a great deal of time there as a user and an occasional volunteer, I've seen the energy, enthusiasm, and warmth that the staff puts into serving every level of the community. Babies, infants, and children benefit from the programs geared for them at a critical period of their development. The welcoming spaces, complete with mats and small furniture, are also very much appreciated by children and caregivers alike. Elementary and high school students come with their classes or on their own to work, attend workshops and clubs, or just enjoy the welcoming ambience of the library. Adults and seniors, like me and my wife, love the collections, variety of activities, and access to computers and technology. I think everyone would say that all of this is possible due to the impressive enthusiasm, kindness, and dedication of Rachel Woodworth, Stephanie Morale, Kathy Sears, and the students, volunteers, and part-time workers who help out. They make everyone feel so welcome and provide a fun, safe, and stimulating place to go. I cannot overstate how important spaces like this are, especially in a small remote village that doesn't have limitless options for those wishing to get out of the house and enjoy activities in a word I can't say, environment. Thank you. The Grand Manan Public Library is a real jewel. It makes me happy to pay taxes knowing they are going to support something so beneficial to so many people. How often do you hear someone saying that? Thank you very much for reading my letter, sincerely. And then there was a variety of responses from those of us who were addressed to, because I don't think any of us receive happy letters like that. So we certainly are lucky to have them as part of the community, but it's always good to hear that recognized by other people. So I think that was it for correspondence. Yeah.
That, that wasn't addressed to the library, that was addressed to us.
Yes.
I believe the library should, they should get a copy of this, maybe framed and hang it on the wall, I don't know what they want to do with it. But, you know, this is quite a bouquet to be thrown their way, and it's noteworthy.
It was, one of the names on the list is one of the managers of the New Brunswick Public Library, and they looped Rachel in at the end of it, so they have seen the email and the accolades, so, but I appreciate that thought. Okay, anything else? New business is 14.1 IT tech support, and there were a couple of things in the packages, and I'm not sure who's speaking to this one.
Well, unfortunately, the clerk has been doing the research on this, and she has left for vacation for a couple of weeks. I'm not sure.
I have had nothing to do with this.
No,
She's
I'm,
done all the work.
I'm the same way, so maybe,
Maybe we should table it till
Maybe.
our March meeting, till she comes back.
Yeah.
Okay,
April meeting.
April, yep. Yeah, okay.
Make a motion to table that?
I'll make a motion to table.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Valentine. Question? All those in favor? Contrary-minded? Motion carried. 14.2 is Swallowtail Lighthouse Management. CAO Rayner to address.
thank you, Madam Mayor. As we discussed at the Committee of the Whole meeting, I had a visit from Ken Ingersoll a few weeks ago with very sad news that Ken feels he can no longer continue with the upkeep and the supervision of Swallowtail. So with that, we need to figure out what the next steps might be. I think probably first thing would be to reach out to their, I guess, accountant, who is Julie, and kind of get an idea of where they're at, kind of board member wise, if there's any. According to Kenny, it didn't sound like there was very many active board members left on SKS. So we probably should first reach out to them and try to arrange a meeting if we can. And if there's no board members left, I guess the next step would be to reach out to legal to see about the possibility of dissolving SKS in the village, retaking the responsibility for Swallowtail and kind of what to do with it moving forward. I guess so. At this point, open for suggestions or comments.
If we dissolved the Keepers Society, one of the benefits is that it's a charity, it's a registered charity, which encourages donations. And maybe there'd be a way of keeping the umbrella of the group with the charitable designation as we move forward.
If that didn't work and the village retook over the ownership, we also have a charitable number that we can do the charitable receipts, so.
Councillor Sturgeon, then I see Councillor Green moving as well.
Yes, Madam Mayor, I certainly can appreciate arranging a meeting with the Swallow Keeper Society and seeing how many is left. We certainly want to have as many involved in that regards. And also, Madam Mayor, I believe it's paramount that we do send a letter of thanks to them as well, because they have been very dedicated and for, keeping up part of this heritage property for us. So I think that would be paramount as well.
Agree. Councillor Green.
Yeah, as was mentioned in our committee of the whole meeting, if that is viable as a standalone organization, their ability for public sympathy for fundraising would be a lot greater than ours. And they may have access to grants that we don't. I'm not sure how that works, if governments are excluded from some of the things, because they have done a lot of fundraising over the years. I'm trying to remember the name of the guy that came down when they were doing the fundraising for the refit. Bart. People like that. I mean, his expertise and input, you'd hate to lose it, because he had a heart for it, and he worked, and he was quite successful.
I would certainly echo that, and I'd echo Councillor Sturgeon's comments. Being involved on the periphery of the residing out there a few summers ago, it was an incredible amount of work that went into the fundraising and getting that project through. And I mean, I think we all said at the time, can't imagine Grand Manan without Swallowtail, so it's good to know that that's been looked after, but certainly the amount of hours that Kenny has put in has just, I don't think anybody has really any idea. I don't think he probably hasn't any idea how much, so. So with that, maybe we can see if we can get together a meeting with SKS here in the next little bit, recognizing that summer is coming, and it would be good to have some idea of who may be doing what before we get into the summer season, so. Is there anything else that we should talk about on that one before we leave it? Hearing none. Next up is 14.3, the highway supervisor position.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. When the village entered into a 2-year agreement with the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure, we hired an intern supervisor for that 2-year period. We are now finalizing the long-term agreement with DTI to manage the winter and summer maintenance of the roads. So with that, we need to put out to hire a full-time position for the highway supervisor. The contract with the current supervisor was just for the 2-year trial. So now that it's moving over to long-term, full-time, we need to go through the steps of finding the full-time position. Just to be clear, this is no reflection of our current supervisor. This is just a 2-year agreement turning into long-term, and we need to make sure that we cover all of our bases and dot all of our I's and cross our T's. So at this point, I just look for permission from council to advertise for that position to hopefully hire the full-time supervisor by April 1st, 2026.
I see Councillor Green, and then I see Councillor Sturgeon.
Yes, I think it's important that we clarify a bit that it's not a full-time position today with the current supervisor, but he's not an employee of the village. He's an employee of a contractor. He's a contractor's employee. So we want to bring that in-house and have it, under one umbrella is what we're trying to do here.
Councillor Sturgeon?
No, that's pretty much what I was going to say, Madam Mayor. Just a clarification from our CAO that when we talk about the interim supervisor, we're not necessarily talking about the guy that's driving the truck, but the people that he answers to, which the company, Silk Stevens is who we hired. So they're the ones technically where they're at. Thank you.
Any other questions? Yes.
I would move that we authorize the CAO to advertise this position and get the ball rolling. And I guess I can't ask a question about that until after we go, so I'll go that far for now.
You heard the motion from Councillor Green. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Valentine. Question, Councillor Green?
Yeah, how are we, is this going to be like on our website? It's not just going to be on some headhunters thing like in whatever? How are we going to advertise for it?
We'll advertise it on our social media, our village page. We'll try to get it out as local as we can. Plus, we'll probably also include some of the local, like Indeed and things like that. That will have a little bit broader search.
The RSC has a job listing that they put out weekly or bi-weekly. It might be worth putting it there as well. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Contrary minded? Motion carried. And right on time, I see Alex has joined. We timed that very well, everybody. So that brings us to 16.1, which is the rural plan bylaw. Thanks for joining us, Alex. Do you want to talk us through what I think we're supposed to be doing here tonight, and then we can go from there? Does that work?
Sure thing, Your Worship. Before council tonight is your third reading for bylaw 61-26. So that's the Village of Grand Manan Rural Plan bylaw. So how it works is council may decide to give third reading to this bylaw by majority vote of the council. In the case here, the mayor actually votes under Section 109 of the Community Planning Act. So that's a section of the Community Planning Act which would prevail over a procedural bylaw. So normal business, mayor wouldn't vote, but in this case, the mayor would. The third reading also needs to follow a actual reading of the fifth page of the document, and it's the section of the bylaw which will talk about the different sections that the bylaw contains. It will have to follow an actual decision of the council, though, where a motion is made to give third reading to the rural plan bylaw, and a majority votes in favor. So if that is the case, then it could be the mover of the original motion or the mayor who reads page 5 of that rural plan, and that summarizes the content of the bylaw, as opposed to reading the whole bylaw in its entirety. So that's consistent with the Community Planning Act, and specifically Section 109, which is about the passing of bylaws under the Community Planning Act. If there's any questions, happy to take them at this time.
Any questions for Alex? Okay, so if I understand this correctly, Alex, we would look for a motion for the third reading of bylaw 61-26, the rural plan of Grand Manan. And if that passes, then I would read this bylaw title and scope that is in front of me, and that would finalize this process. Is that correct?
It finalizes at council, but there is the next step of it actually going to the Minister of Local Government, who approves it upon review and compliance with the Community Planning Act, Statements of Public Interest Regulation. And so planners would take this sealed and signed document and bring it to the minister's office with reports to explain its compliance. And if the minister approves it, they have a discretionary decision to approve. then it comes back to the village, and we will send it to the provincial registry office as a official enacted bylaw.
Okay. Any other questions for Alex? Councillor Green?
If it gets to the point where it goes to the minister, what's the average turnaround time on something like that before this would actually come into effect?
It's a good question. It can depend. I've seen it done in a matter of 3 days, and I've seen it take 3 weeks. So it really can depend how busy they are. So I don't know for sure, but it's a couple weeks. Would be the good guess.
Thank you.
Councillor Ballantyne?
Yes, so if the bylaw is approved and confirmed and passed, and it turns out that sections of it are problematic, is there an ability to address that afterwards?
Yes, this is a very good question. Absolutely. And so in the normal course of business, a rural plan that gets adopted, that's a pretty, significant overhaul. You're going to want to have a look at this probably in a year's time and do some tweaks. There'll be things that might not work as intended, and there may be things that as staff that are using it, we start to realize, oh wait, there's a issue here that needs to be brought to council's attention. So this is the kind of thing which we will also keep like a log, there's always this sort of housekeeping that needs to be done with bylaws, and they are current, active, living documents. They don't stay in one form forever.
Thank you.
Anyone else? So hearing none, I'd be looking for a motion to do third reading of bylaw 6126, if that is the wishes of the group.
I'll make that motion.
You heard the motion from Councillor Ballantyne. Do we have a seconder?
I will second that.
Seconded by Councillor Toll. Question? All those in favor? Aye. Contrary minded? Motion carried. So at this point, I will read the bylaw title and scope, which is on page 5 of the rural plan. The Council of the Village of Grand Manan, under authority vested in it under the Community Planning Act, makes the following rural plan bylaw, herein called the bylaw or rural plan. Number 1, bylaw number 61-26, the Village of Grand Manan Rural Plan bylaw is hereby adopted. 2, this bylaw may be cited as rural plan for Grand Manan. 3, this bylaw applies to the Village of Grand Manan local government boundaries as outlined in subsection 50 of Regulation 2022-50 under the Local Governance Act. 4, this rural plan bylaw, I, divides the village into zones as shown on a zoning map. II, prescribes powers reserved in the advisory committee. Number 3, regulates how land, buildings, and structures in any zone may be used. 4, sets standards that land use and the placement, erection, alteration, and use of building and structures must conform to. And 5, prohibits the use, placement, erection, or alteration of land, buildings, or structures other than in conformity with the purposes and standards mentioned in clauses 1 through 4. Number 5, for the purposes of this bylaw, the Village of Grand Manan is divided into zones as shown on the Village of Grand Manan zoning map attached to Schedule A. And number 6, the following bylaws are hereby repealed and replaced. Bylaw 56-22. Okay. Does that do it?
That does it.
Okay. Thank you to you and to Xander for all your help getting us through this process. I know there was a lot of work that went into it, including a rewrite partway through, but I think we've come out with a better document because of it. But I do appreciate the efforts that you put into this on our behalf. So thanks for joining us this evening.
Absolutely. You're welcome, Mayor, and congratulations to council.
Thank you. All right. with that, I'm gonna leave. 17.1, it's the general operating fund invoices.
Oh dear. Okay. All right, so I'm looking for approval to pay the following invoices from the general operating fund. We have Alpha Securities, for the Arena key fob system for $5,864.82. We have Morse Fisheries Limited DTI Mowing, $1,600. Then we have Urquhart Quality Homes for $287.50 for the transfer station scissor lift rental. LSW Wear Parts for DTI for $1,513.40. AJW Mechanical Arena Pumps, $6,093.22. And, yeah. So I'm looking for a motion for this.
I move that we pay those invoices.
Are there any questions? Oh, sorry, what?
Looking for a seconder first.
Yes, seconder? Sorry. Okay. Questions?
Question. I noticed for Morse Fisheries is DPI mowing, according to the minutes in February, it was paid for $1,600. So this is something that we paid for 2 different months, I guess, or whatever, or this is right?
When they brought the bill in, Trudy only billed us for half of the time by mistake, so Neil brought us the other half of the bill.
The arrangement was $80 an hour, and Trudy only billed us for $40 an hour, so she was trying to give us a deal.
Okay.
And Morris, and, yeah. Neil said no.
I couldn't imagine too much mowing going on in the middle of winter, so that's why I had to ask, so thank you.
Councilor
That
Ray?
was my question, mowing in the winter, or is that just cleaning up from when they mowed them earlier in the year?
No, that was from the summer mowing.
Summer
Yeah,
mowing.
They were
Okay.
this long getting us the invoice, so.
Thank you.
All right, so all those in favor? Opposed? Motion carried.
You could have kept going. All right, so we're on 17.2, General Capital Fund. We have Lindsay Construction Limited. The final bill for that is $91,427.13. I feel like we're finishing a lot of things tonight. Urquhart Quality Homes, airport doors for $69,974.55. You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Turner. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. So then we have a few transfers coming up under number 18. 18.1 is a motion to transfer $3,000 from the operating reserve fund to the general operating fund.
So moved, Madam Mayor.
You heard the motion from Councillor Sturgeon. Do we have a seconder? Seconded by Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. 18.2 is a motion to transfer $134,223.74 from the airport line of credit to the general capital fund.
I will make that motion.
Heard the motion from Councillor Toll. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Valentine. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. And 18.3 is a motion to transfer $11,256.46 from the capital reserve fund to the general capital fund.
I'll make that motion.
You heard the motion from Deputy Mayor Greenlaw. Do we have a seconder?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councillor Valentine. Question? All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion carried. We don't have anything under closed section, so that means our next regular meeting is on April 13th, 2026 at 7:30. I think we hit Easter there in the middle, so we may have to look at having a special meeting sometime towards the end of March. I'm thinking particularly to pay invoices, if nothing else, to get us over that hump there. So with that,
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
thank you very much. Thanks, everybody.